What's up, guys? It's Talon. Today we're going to be coaching a Master Nami and Karma player. I'm just going to be uploading the Nami game for now. If you guys are interested in also seeing the Karma game, let me know. But I do go over a lot of similar points in both games, so it might be a bit redundant. If you guys want me to just upload full coaching sessions in the future, let me know if that's what you'd prefer, or versus just this uploading one of the games. I do go over other things with him, like build and just general like mindset, and going over the other game as well when I coach him fully. If you guys are interested in a coaching session, it's about 15 bucks for an hour of coaching, so let me know if that seems like anything you're interested in. Just simply DM me on Discord by joining my Discord through the link below. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. But I mean, you're going Ardent first most games, and you said it's because because ADCs are super strong. But
yeah, so
go ahead.
typically the Nami build that I usually would go is just like full AP damage with Ludens and Infinity Orb and Rabadon's Cap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of good success with that prior to the ADC patch, and then after that happened, I just started losing a lot.
Yeah,
And
so the main thing is like Ardent gets better the later in the game you go, because the attack speed bonus is based on levels. So if you want to, I think it's based on the level of the person you're buffing. So if you want to utilize it, that's good, but going at first item is just going to not get very much value. So like if you want to go the Ardent build, I would say if you go Mandate first, then you go Staff probably second, and then Ardent third is usually when you're actually going to get more value out of like the supportive type of build, which I do think is probably better in this meta as well.
And the other thing is, I'm not sure which like runes are kind of the best. Like Aerie sometimes scores. It's like the third rune just has never really mattered all that much.
The third rune is going to be based definitely on game. Like I hear you talk about it in the video. So your 1, 2, and 4 runes are pretty much always going to be what you have them as. Your third rune, like bone plating, is any matchup where you're going to want to like. It's more likely that you're going to take like a long like all-in trade with someone rather than like a ton of short trades, and then you want to go second wind whenever they have a lot of poke. So in this matchup, you're going to want second wind because Ashe and Ezreal have a ton of poke. So going bone plating here is going to be pretty useless, because one Ashe W or one Ezreal Q will instantly take your bone plating away, and you're not really going to get value out of it. You know what I mean? So
right.
And then you want to go Perseverance in games where they have a ton of CC. So you could possibly go Perseverance this game as well. But generally, as a support, you don't really need it because you're going to be in the back line anyways. So usually just second wind or bone plating are what you're probably going to decide between. Second wind into poke, and then bone plating when you're going to be taking like a longer, more all-in type of trade.
Okay.
And then I'd also go Ignite personally on Nami. You can go heal, but this matchup is winning for you. Like there shouldn't really be a way you die in this matchup. So I feel like Ignite's just going to be more valuable. Like I'd only go heal in matchups like Raven, Thresh, or something where it's like pretty likely that you guys get killed or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I see like the biggest thing is you never W on yourself and then like use it to bounce to someone, which is a lot quicker than Wing them and then having it try to bounce back to you. So that's like a big thing I saw initially, but we'll go through it more as the game actually plays out. Also, with a Twitch is like, you don't have to be super aggressive because Twitch scaling is really good, so you can be pretty patient in the lane. You don't have to try to force anything. Just when your Twitch goes up is kind of when you're going to want to go up. You want to always stay like on a line with him. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like behind him when he's going forward or vice versa, because then they can both focus just one person. Also, you're going to want to go for an early ward because it's a Rammus and he's pretty likely to gank, so you'd probably want to ward. I think you're going to ward there, yeah, perfect. Like, you don't need to do that ward if they had, say, a Shyvana, because it's going to be not very useful for you. You'd rather probably just take control ward and try to, like, get control of the bush. And then initially here, you're just kind of standing next to your ADC, which is pretty useless. Like, you should be in the bush right now, just to, like, pressure them more, because if you're grouped with him, you're more likely to get hit by, like, both get hit by Ashe W, or just more like if they throw an Ezreal Q, it's more likely to hit you because you're just really close to him, so it's easier to hit.
Right. Yeah, I do think that's something that I don't do a lot is go in the bush.
Yeah, it's very useful to utilize. Your Twitch goes up here and you don't walk forward with him, so he's just able to get hit. I mean, they didn't end up punishing him, but his health should be lower. Also, you go bubble here, which doesn't make sense because you're never really going to land it unless they
Yeah,
really int.
honestly, I think that was kind of a little bit of misclick. I usually do W-E-W and then
Yeah.
Q.
I remember in
is
the video you said I normally do WE, and then you said I went Q because I wanted to protect him or something like that, which there's nothing you're really protecting him from, so. But yeah, I remember that's why you said you did it. In general, a lot of times I see your teammate walking up here and you're just not with him. And so he takes a ton of poke and you're not really trading it back. Like here you traded it back fine. Also, your mana's just really low because you just kind of spam abilities without trying to get value out of them. Like, I personally never even go tier on Karma or Nami because for me, I like try to just get max value out of my spells. I don't feel like I typically run out of mana that often. But it seems like you're using all of your abilities. Like you went Q, you went bubble, and then you use like 3 or 4 bubbles. And I think you land one of them, and all it did was get a little bit of damage. It wasn't really useful apart from that. So your mana usage is just like pretty inefficient in lane. And especially as Nami, pretty much all of your early mana should only be using your W unless like you can poke someone with your E, which is why you don't upgrade bubble till level 4 because you're never really going to use it because it'll just waste your mana. So yeah, in general, like you guys should probably have the pressure in lane here, but instead because of you using mana pretty poorly and then also not walking up with him, that's the main reason that you're not really winning this lane. Like here again, I would probably just like you could have already W'd yourself, it would have landed onto him like just a second earlier there, but instead you back up too fast. It's important to know like if they use their abilities on you, you don't have to run back just because they won the trade. They've used their abilities, so now they don't have them. They're on cooldown, so you have to try to take advantage of that rather than just backing up because you took a bit of poke from them. However, the way the lane is going is fine for you because you scale better, roughly the same, like Ezreal scales well, but Twitch scaling is extremely strong, so it's fine that the lane's going this way, but you could definitely have a bigger advantage. And now that you saw their jungler, the fact that you're going aggressive now is really weird, because you saw Rammus about 10 seconds ago on the map, right? So
yeah.
So there's no reason to be using your ult here, like the reasoning doesn't make sense. Obviously, also the ult didn't necessarily get value anyways, but now you're going to see, I think your Twitch goes aggro here, he gets Ashe ulted, and you don't have your ult. If you had your ult here, you could have protected him, and Ashe would 100% die. Now, Ashe ends up, you still get her flash, but if you have ult here, as soon as Ashe goes onto your Twitch, you can immediately ult and bubble, and guarantee it landing, rather than hoping that you land your bubble. So just kind of the weird ult usage led to that possibly going poorly, but it ends up being fine. Also, you don't click, okay, you do click here, good. Like, you should always be looking at scoreboard to know who's strong on your team, like, at all times. So it's good you're looking here. It's definitely, like, a very important thing, especially as support, to understand who you're going to need to follow and everything like that.
I do think probably one of my issues is also not leading my ADC early enough.
Yeah,
whenever
sure.
they're not being a true carry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think like okay, this is also really weird walking for the ward, but you know that's a mistake. I don't really need to go over that, but in general,
I
like,
realized it. I realized
yeah.
it as I was doing it. I kept on saying, "Why am I doing this?" But I just couldn't stop.
Yeah, but the main thing for like deciding when to leave your ADC is you have to kind of understand what they can like survive. So in this matchup, you can't ever really leave the Twitch because Ashe will just ult him and he'll just die. So like you can't really leave him until later on in the game. Because again, he should have already died here. The Ezreal just missed ult. You're also using your ult after you Q someone. You should use it like your ult to land the Q. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
yeah. At this point, it's pretty fine to leave. Like your ADC is backing, and he's gonna be in the base a little longer than you, so you should immediately go mid here. You shouldn't just walk back to lane because you have a little bit of time before he's really gonna do anything. So walking back to like Ashe also has arrow, so or just used arrow. I mean, so there's no reason. So it's good that you roam here. That's the correct decision. Just coming to mid lane now. like overall, it's not like you're making any mistakes that are like big. It's more that you're not able to use your lane pressure as well as you could. Like Nami should be winning pretty much every lane, but because you're not really like walking up with your ADC and you're not pressuring them and Wing yourself, it just means that you don't have any advantage in lane and you're just going even instead. Which if you're playing a more aggressive with a more aggressive ADC, that's not going to work. It's just since you have a Twitch, it still ends up being pretty fine. And now your Master Yi is on objective by himself, which is kind of weird, but you didn't. I don't know why you waited to bubble. Like you could have bubbled as soon as you ulted, and then you possibly would have been able to save the Twitch there. So that's just a small thing, but. And now at this point, your Akshan's really strong and your Twitch is not. So at this point, I wouldn't really ever go back to lane. I would pretty much just be following Akshan around for the most part and playing really towards him because he's very, very strong. I mean, that's in general like what I do, especially in solo queues. Like if my ADC is bad or they're not doing much, I just leave them. Like at this point in the game, after first dragon, after like a turret's been taken or something like that, I'm just going to start following around whoever's the strongest. I don't really care if my ADC starts feeding, if I can get the rest of my team ahead.
Okay.
Okay, also you're walking very far forward, like there's just no reason to be so far forward there. In general, like you should almost always be near the back of the fight because your value comes pretty much exclusively from heals and like ulting and bubbling people, which you don't really need to be very close to do that. So it's kind of pointless for you to be in the front, especially with Ash Arrow and everything up. And then also hitting Herald here, like obviously your team should be on Herald, but it doesn't really do anything for you to be here because you're never going to kill it by yourself. Like it would still get a charge if your team just never went for it. So you might as well just follow your team when they go forward there and then go for the Herald after. Like as support, you're going to have to follow teammates' pretty dumb decisions sometimes just because you can't do it all on your own. Like you can't clear waves on your own and stuff like that. So.
Right.
But this is pretty fine. I mean, it's unfortunate Garen flashes on you. There's not a ton you can do about that. Yeah, at this point again, like I don't think there's a ton more that goes super wrong in this game. It's kind of like the early game is really your biggest issue where you're not punishing anyone, but from this point, I mean, it seems like everything goes pretty fine. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to go over.
Okay.
Like I'll just skip through to see if there's anything else, but I don't want to waste your time with like a replay when we could go over another or something like that. Like in general, here you follow your Akshan pretty well. You just kind of start going with him. It's good to rotate with him as well. Weird ult up here, but I mean, it's not a bad thing to use your ult. It's pretty low cooldown.
Yeah, like sometimes I'm looking for an alt and then I try to cancel it and it accidentally goes off as well.
Yeah, that happens. But yeah, I think build's also a big thing. Like for me, I think Mandate's going to be a lot better for first item since Ardent doesn't get much value until you're like later levels, and you can go Ardent second or third.
So yeah, here recently I've been doing Ardent, not Ardent, but Imperial Mandate.
Yeah.
As a first item on some of my builds, but
and okay, here you're walking into 4 people, so I guess this is kind of weird. Like you're just kind of walking without being near any of your teammates. Doesn't like if they all collapse on you, you would have been dead there, but they got distracted by your other teammates, so it worked out fine. But sometimes you just kind of walk off on your own. Like you might as well have just followed your Akshan there, done something else. It's not very much of a point to be by yourself. But yeah, I mean in general, again, you're mostly just at this point as Enchanter is really easy to play. After lane phase in general, you just find the strong person, you follow them. Your main things are you're not really comboing your ult with your bubbles super well. Like sometimes you're panicking and bubbling first, or you're not comboing them together at all. But apart from that, there's not a whole lot. And again, I don't go for Archangels at all, but if you want to, like there's some Namis who are really good who do that. So if that's what you prefer, you can do that. For me, it just wastes kind of it wastes a lot of early game potential because you have to waste the 900 gold on the mana. Again, here you panic and bubble. Like you can see, you're spamming your bubble as soon as you ult. It slows them, so you don't have to be so like panicky about it. You can like take your time to make sure the bubble's on them properly because they're going to be slowed after they get ulted anyways. But yeah, again, I mean, you play this game pretty well overall. It's the lane phase really. Again, just you have to be paying closer attention to your ADC, and then understanding you can roam after first dragon, which you did, and you do a good job of. So in general, I mean, you play this game well. Seems to go pretty well. Okay, actually, I remember now. I was watching your Karma game too. You have a big lead again. The same thing here. Like you're not really paying attention to where your team is, and you just walk forward by yourself, and you end up getting caught out here. I think it's like, I'm guessing if a lot of your games go like this, where you have good score line, and then you end up still losing, it's because you make really random throws. Because I see this in your Karma game and this Nami game. You're kind of just getting caught out for no reason with a big lead. Because again, you're just playing super far forward when there's no reason to. Like you should be further back generally. But yeah, I mean, it seems like in general, like you are better than most master supports I can see. It's just these types of mistakes probably lead to more losses than you realize, and then it feels like you play really well and you still lose, so it's pretty frustrating. But it's probably just these types of things leading to that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, lane phase is really what's important for enchanters. Like tanks are like the opposite, where lane phases generally you're just sitting in lane waiting, or a lot of the times at least. And again, here you position yourself into the pit without flash, which doesn't do anything. Like you could have just gone and healed the Master Yi instead of walking into this pit. Like you could still get this ult from the left side, like if you were just up in the left there, and then you wouldn't die, and you'd just be able to stay alive for longer to help your teammates out. Because again, you're not really doing much just by, like, I feel like, I'm guessing your whole goal is just to save the Master Yi, but you're not actually getting any closer to saving him by just walking in there like that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why I do that. It's just I've done that and died like that so many times.
Yeah, you seem to give in to a lot of impulses, like the ward thing too. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I recognize that is a mistake that I have made multiple times before, but it's just sometimes I just can't, stop myself from doing it.
Yeah, it's something you have to be pretty cognizant of before, like it can be a thing you just kind of think about every time that you're roaming. Just like be like, I have to consciously think I'm not going to int here until it actually becomes more of a habit. Like even as dumb as it sounds, like those small things can be really important. But yeah, I mean, in general, again, the lane phase is the biggest thing. I'll write like a little like note thing at the end of the coaching to kind of, like, it's all summarized. But alright guys, that's going to be it for this coaching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about this type of style of video. If you guys are interested in getting coaching in the future, let me know. And also, if you want, feel free to check out my Twitch. It's TalonWR on Twitch. I stream there pretty much daily, doing my support challenge right now, up to Grandmaster, getting really close to Challenger. Hopefully we can get there soon. And yep, I'll see you guys later.